All right, so now I'm on to the Silky coop, the chicken coop for the Silky chickens and the bantam chickens. Finished the duck coop, which is right there. Right next to it's going to be the Silky coop and the Silky yard. So we'll have the duck yard, the Silky yard. So everything's going to be in this little area around the garden. That's the way Shonda wanted it. She wanted all the chickens and the ducks inside her garden area. Silky coop is going to be same premise as the duck coop. I think it'll end up being a total of approximately 16 inches off the ground. Yep, 16 inches off the ground, and it's 4x4 instead of the 4x8. So much smaller. Hopefully we don't get that many bantams. We'll see how it goes. So I got the base built, and I'm gonna lay the plywood floor on top of it right now. Almost perfect till I got to the end there, but otherwise that's pretty flush. I nailed it down before I cut it, and I painted it the other day when I had the paint out for the floor on the duck coop. That's the I think it's Kills or one of the other one. It's a primer. I forget. I think it's Kills. Whatever the other popular primer is as well. I just picked it up for $5 in the clearance section of Home Depot, where they're making mistakes on the paint. So I'm using that to protect it a little bit, to keep the water from soaking in, keep moisture from soaking in, keep the manure from soaking in. So that's what I'm doing instead of linoleum on the floor. So I was building the whole thing and I forgot a nesting box. I forgot to plan a nesting box. So I just sort of kind of threw this together on the fly. Again, I already see my mistakes, but what are you gonna do? I just kind of started. I had no idea how I was gonna do it. I started cutting piece by piece by piece and slapping it together. So, whatever it takes. So I completely forgot to do a nesting box for them. I would put it on the inside. There's nothing wrong with putting them on the inside either, but it's just easier if they do happen to lay in the nesting box. Hopefully they will. Only half our chickens do. The other half lay wherever. But if they do lay in the nesting box, this will be easier to get the eggs from the outside. So the Silkies will hopefully go in the nesting box, unlike the ducks who won't. So. All right, good morning. Out here for day 2 of the Silky coop build. I didn't work on it yesterday. We had a full day yesterday. I think my wife had chemotherapy yesterday, so that ties us up all day. So I worked on it the day before was day 1. On Sunday, I think it was day 1. And then I don't even know what day of the week it is. I forget. I can't remember. But yeah, I've worked on it 1 day so far. So I got a pretty good amount built. Today is day 2. Hopefully I'll get it knocked out and finished off today. And then I am hoping the duck house that's to my left, I'm hoping to get the 2 ducks out of the brooder and into the duck house for their last week of brooding. I'll set up a heat lamp in here. I'll lock them in here and let them know that this is their home. Enough is enough in the brooder with the ducks. Ducks are messy. So the Silkies still got a long way to go. So there isn't an extreme rush to finish this, but I just want to get it done and out of the way because I have so many other things to do. The Silkies are still in the brooder, and they've got 5 more weeks to go, I think. I think they're less than a week old. I can't remember what day we got them. I think we got them beginning of this week or last week. I don't know. About 5 weeks left to go for them. So we're gonna get to working on this and hopefully knock this out today. So before I get this all closed in with the plywood and OSB, just want to mention a few things about a chicken coop, things that you need for a chicken coop when building one. So for this, I've got a 2x4 header. I think I'm safe with that. I don't think I need a 2x6 or 2x8. I think a 2x4 is going to be just fine. It's laminated. It's doubled up with another header behind it. All 2x4 rafters. So everything on the roof is 2x4, and I'm going to use 1/2-inch OSB and then cover that with metal roofing. So do you need to go overboard? Do you need all this 2x4? You can do it with 2x3s, 2x2s, depending on where you live. So this isn't made for the chickens. This isn't made because I think the Silkies is going to tear it apart. This is made because where we live, we get a lot of snow. The building codes up here require a roof to be built to a structural specification that can handle 60 pounds per square foot. So that's the snow load where we live, is 60 pounds per square foot. So it has to be able to hold 60 pounds of wet snow. So that's why it's all 2x4. I think I'll be pretty safe with it. Now this doesn't fall under any building code in our county. I can make as many chicken coops as I want. It's not like I have to get a permit for it. Our county's not that bad. They can be sticklers, but they're not that bad. So anyways, so it's built heavy for that reason, for the snow load. Can you build it lighter? Absolutely. Does it need to be built as heavy as a house? No, not that bad. Okay, I did all 2x4 construction. I thought about doing 2x3, but it's $1 cheaper. So however many 2x4s I bought for the chicken coop and the duck house, I don't know, let's say about 50. So I'll be saving $50 by going 2x3s. Why not spend the extra $50 and do it all right and have it last forever, right? So again, it's not made to the point where I think the Silkie is going to tear it apart. It's made to handle the weather. It's made to handle time. It's made to last for a long time, you know? So that's the first thing to know about building a chicken coop. Just be aware of where you live. If you live, you know, if I was back down in California, I think I did all 2x2 construction. As a matter of fact, I did 2x2 construction down there. That's all I needed. It was heavy when I was done, but we didn't get snow, so I didn't have to worry about that. So up here, that's what I have to worry about. I got a nesting box right here. There's a lot of different things that you'll hear about nesting boxes. When I first started raising chickens, went online, and you know, that's what you do nowadays, right? You go online, you go on YouTube, and you listen to people, and sometimes you know what they're talking about, and sometimes you don't. I always tell you in my videos, I'm not an expert, don't listen to me. So you can learn some things to do and a lot of things what not to do if you watch me. But anyway, so this nesting box, I may or may not put a divider in it to make 2 nesting boxes. I don't know. We're gonna have 3, 4, maybe 9 or 10 bantams in here. I have 23 or 24 egg-laying hens right now. I have 3 different nesting boxes that are specifically for nesting boxes for those 24. They seem to lay wherever they want. In the main coop, there's 2 nesting boxes side by side. They only lay in one. And right now, I've got a broody hen in one. They lay their eggs on top of her. They climb in on top of her and lay their eggs, and then she collects them and puts them under her. So every night I have the eggs marked. The ones I'm allowing her to brood, I took a red Sharpie and I put an X on them, so I know which ones to leave every day. And I take all the rest, but I have to pick her up and move her. But all the other hens, they go in the same nesting box and they lay in the same spot. They don't use the one right next to her. They don't want it. Same thing in here. And that makeshift coop I built that quick one in one day. It was just all scrap lumber. There's a nesting box in there. They don't use it. They go in the corner of the coop underneath the roosts. All the chickens roost on one side, so there's only 3 chickens that roost in that coop. but they all roost on one side, so they all drop their manure on one side. And then the other side is where all the chickens from the other coop that have their own nesting boxes, they come over here to lay their eggs. So they lay their eggs in 2 different spots most of the time, 90% of the time, 95% of the time. Sometimes they lay them wherever. They lay them on the floor of the main coop. They lay them outside sometimes. That's unusual. Chickens don't normally do that. But basically, I've got 2 spots for 24 chickens. I've got more than 2 spots, but they choose to lay in 2 different spots. And one of them is not even a nesting box. So they only use 1 nesting box for 24 chickens. So just keep that in mind. People will tell you, oh, you need 1 nesting box for every 4 or 5 chickens. No, you can build a dozen nesting boxes. They're going to use 1, maybe 2. Same thing with my last flock. I had 1 nesting box with a divider, so it was 2 nesting boxes, and they all laid in 1. I think I had 11 laying hens, somewhere around there, 11 or 12 laying hens, and they all laid in 1 box. That's just what they do. So you can build 1 for every chicken if you want, but they're not going to use it. You're going to waste your time and money and effort. So, but be aware that a nesting box is important, because aside from some of my crazy chickens, one of them he used to lay in the back of my side-by-side every day. Aside from my weird chickens, generally they lay in a nesting box. So for a chicken coop, you need a nesting box. You can put it on the inside. I thought about just building it on the inside so it's not sticking out. This one's sticking out, and I would have had enough room. It's not that big a deal. But it's just easier to collect the eggs. If they do go in the nesting box the way it's designed, then I can collect the eggs from the outside, because I'll put a top on that, and I'll just be able to reach in and collect the eggs. So I have it lifted up a little bit. Chickens like it up out of the way. I have a little bit of a lip on here. Maybe I'll put something higher. I'm not sure yet. Chickens want to be somewhere away, dark. That's where they like to lay their eggs. Okay. I'll fill that in with pine shavings. I'm not into those mats, the different fake grass and stuff. Chickens want to make a nest. They want to go in and they want to circle it, and they want to push stuff out of the way, and then they want to cover themselves back up. I watch it every single day with my broody hen. She collects the eggs, she pulls them underneath her, and she makes a little nest in the pine shavings. That's what they want to do. So I'm not big on using the fake grass or those mats that some people put in. To each his own. I just would rather the chicken do what the chicken wants to do. So yeah, nesting box is important. A nesting box was not important in the duck house, because the ducks don't use nesting box. They'll lay wherever. It's an Easter egg hunt every day for the duck eggs. So some other things to consider is it needs to be windproof and waterproof. So I make sure all my roofs hang over. So I'll have a lip all the way around, approximately a foot. So this is an overhang of a foot on each side. I'm gonna make sure it stays dry in here. So it has to be dry, and they need protection from the water. Chickens do not, well, most chickens do not like the rain. Again, I have weird chickens. It doesn't matter how hard it's raining, they'll stay out and just be, hunting and pecking around the yard. My last chicken flock didn't do that, but this one does. They stay out in the rain. It's weird. But generally, they don't like to be wet. There is a concept of an open air coop, and I might experiment with that with the one that I enclosed, because right now it's a walk-in coop. It used to be the chicken run. I enclosed it last week, and it has a door that has chicken wire on it. I'm definitely going to replace that with hardware cloth, and I might leave it open. I'm not sure. It's a good time of year to test it. The wind doesn't blow that way, so as long as the wind's not blowing in, you got to know which way the wind blows in your area, on your property. I always just assume the wind's going to blow from the north, but that's not the case. Our wind blows in from the south, so all the trees on my property lean to the north, because the wind constantly blows in from the south every day. There's a video on YouTube, so if you probably go on YouTube and search for open air coop, you'll probably find the same kid I watched up in Michigan, I think it is. I think he's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so you can watch that, and he does it. He keeps an open air coop, so one side of the coop is just wire, no enclosure at all, and his chickens do fine. You want them deep in it, and that's the situation I have, so I might do that. But again, you just got to protect them from the wind, and you got to protect them from the rain and the snow. You don't have to protect them from the cold. Chickens are very good at keeping themselves warm If you're worried about if it's going to be really cold, you can give them some corn right before sunset, right before they go in for the night. Feed them some corn, and that'll raise their body temperature. Chickens don't need supplemental heat. I did lose a chicken last winter during our cold snap. Did it die of cold? I don't know. All the other ones did fine, so it's hard to say. But there are plenty of people in northern climates, even further north than we live, up in Canada, that have chickens and they don't give any supplemental heat. So I might think about it next year if we get another cold snap like that where it's double digits below zero. Then I might consider it. But other than that, I would say definitely not. They don't need it. It's a fire hazard. Yeah, you're getting your chickens used to being warm. And if your electricity goes out, we're lucky enough to have a whole house generator that kicks on automatically. But if you don't have that, not everyone has that. So if you don't have that, your electricity goes out, then there goes their heat that they're used to having. So no supplemental heat. And if you wanted to do it in double digit, sub-zero temperatures, they do sell the plugs now that have thermostats on them, and you can set at what temp. Not just those thermo cube. Those ones have a designated temperature that they go on and off at. They have other ones that you actually set the temperature. So you can say, I want it to go on at 0 degrees. I want it to go off at 30 degrees. Whatever temperatures you want, you can set it. They have those on Amazon. So I might look into those. We'll see. But as far as the coop goes, what else do you need? I would recommend either linoleum, or what I did was paint the floor to protect it from moisture, water. There shouldn't be any water in the coop anyways. Their droppings, basically just protecting the plywood from getting rotted out. I am guilty of keeping some food and water in my coops. I was guilty of keeping water in my main coop because it's so big. I kept food and water right there. It was easy for me to open the door in my shed because I walk into my shed over there and I walk to the back of it, and that's where the main chicken coop is. And I have a door there, so it's easy to open the door and there's the food and water right there to refill it. I've had chickens dropping dead in that coop, 3 or 4 of them. Is it something to do with the water being in there? Is it something to do with the water getting dirty or polluted? I don't know. I have no idea what the cause was. 2 of them happened in a week in March, I think, and then one of them was just last week, a few days ago. So I took the water out, and I will be taking the food out. I do have a huge mouse problem in that coop, so you are going to get rodents. So again, I learned some things you have to learn the hard way. You have to just experience. So that's what I did. So I will be taking the food out of the coops. So no food, no water in the coops. They don't need them when they sleep. Same thing with ducks. Ducks do not need water when they sleep. As long as you put them away at sunset, don't put them away in the middle of the afternoon, and as long as you let them out first thing in the morning. Don't sleep until noon to let your ducks out, or your chickens. But they don't need water when they're sleeping. Even ducks can go all night without food and water. And then the same goes for the chickens. They can go all night without food and water. As long as you're taking care of them and you give it to them every day, and you open up that coop early in the morning. It's the first thing I do. I wake up, I make a pot of coffee, and I walk outside in my pajamas, and I let the chickens out. And then I go back inside and drink my coffee, because other than letting the chickens out, nothing gets done before coffee. So, but it is the first thing I do. So no food and water. Gotta have a nesting box, free from the rain, free from the wind, no heat. I do keep a smaller door. So this front right here, I'm sitting in what's going to be the front of the coop. This is going to open up wide, okay? And that is so I can have access to clean it. The same thing I did with the duck house. I have the whole side is 2 doors. It opens up wide so I can have access to clean it. But then then with this one, I'm going to have a smaller door within the door. So that's what I'll use to let them out every day. So I won't have to open the big door every day. I think that also helps in the wintertime when it's really cold. Even if it's just a few degrees, try to keep it a little bit warmer in there. Try to keep it closed as best I can. It may only be a degree or 2, but hey, anything helps, right? Especially in these harsh winters that we have up here. Okay. Also, roosting bars. So they're all going crazy. This poor Fluffy's getting chased by Sid Vicious. So Fluffy's gonna have his own coop soon, and his own flock, his own harem. Anyways, roosting bars. So again, a lot of people will say that, so ducks don't roost, so I didn't put roosting bars in there. We already talked about that one. Generally, it's down on the ground for ducks. Same thing here. Silkies can generally be down on the ground. Some silkies like to stay low, and some people have the coops right on the ground for the silkies, and they don't put roosting bars in them because silkies generally don't roost. Well, I have one silkie right now, and he roosts. He roosts every night in the main coop. So silkies can roost. So with this, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to keep the roosting bars about halfway. Okay, so I'll have maybe 2 roosting bars because we're going to keep a small flock of bantams. I can't do a 50, like we got 50 regular chickens. I can't do that with the bantams, so this is all the space I got for them. So I'll put like 2 roosting bars in here, and we'll still be able to get, silkies probably need maybe 6 inches on the roosting bar. That's the other thing, you'll hear that roosting bars need to be big enough for 8 to 12 inches per bird. So that would mean, so if I have 25 chickens in that main coop and my roosting bars are 6 feet wide, because that's what they are, I need at least 4, maybe even an extra one. Okay, 4 would be squeezing them in, right? Or 8 to 12 inches, 4 is good. They all use 2. They all use 2 bars. They get about 12 or 13 chickens on one 6-foot roosting bar in there. So they're using about 6 inches of space. Someone forgot to tell them that they need 8 to 12. Just like someone forgot to tell the silky that he doesn't roost. Just like they forgot to tell him that only 5 chickens to a nesting box. Animals are going to do what animals are going to do. They do what's in their best interest, what is in their instinct to do. So I am going to put roosting bars in here, enough for all the bantams to roost if they choose to, but I'll have enough floor space that they don't have to roost if they don't want to. But with regular chickens, they'll always roost. Almost always. My Cochin, my huge Cochin rooster, who's about 2 feet tall, he doesn't roost. So he goes in our secondary coop right here, and he lays on the floor at night. He doesn't roost. I don't know if he's just too big or what. He's a monster. So you got to get to know your flock and see what they do as well. But generally, chickens will roost. So you can, in one of the coops I just built, I put branches from the property, because I figured, why am I going to I keep going to buy lumber and more lumber at Home Depot? I have so much lumber on my property. Why not just use some? So if you're going to use wood from a hardware store, then get at least, don't buy like wooden dowels, especially if you live in a cold climate. Get at least 2x3s or 2x4s if you live in a cold climate. It's better for their feet to, I like 2x3s because, 2x2s, 2x3s, because they can wrap their toes around the bar a little bit, enough to hang on tightly, and then they can sit on their feet and keep their feet warm in the wintertime. So flat bars are best. So I did use branches in the newest one I built, but I made sure I got the really thick 4-inch branches so that they can still sit pretty much flat on that, and they can cover their feet with their feathers if they choose to, which they do choose to. And then also with that, if you're going to use branches, don't leave the bark on. If you're doing anything with lumber, with trees, and you're just harvesting trees from your property, if you leave the bark on, it's going to retain moisture and it's going to retain the bugs. That's where the bugs live, is right underneath the bark. So you clean that bark off, and now you've got a piece of wood that's going to last a while. Depending, if I got all pine trees here, so if I put stuff on the outside, it's going to last as much as any pine from any home center is going to last. But in the coop, those pine branches will last a long time. They're all bare now. I don't put any finish or anything on them. Just leave them bare, and shaved off all the bark from those branches, so they're all nice and bare now. Okay, so you got the roosting bar, you got nesting box, you're protected from wind, you're protected from rain, no heat, no food and water in the coop. Next you need is extremely important, is even though you're protecting them from the wind and the rain, you need ventilation. You need ventilation up at the top. If you don't have ventilation, then it's going to retain moisture. Every time they breathe, they give enough moisture. In the wintertime, that's going to get cold. It's going to cause condensation inside the coop, condensation on them. That's what's going to give them frostbite on their combs or wattles. We had a pretty cold, well, the whole winter wasn't cold for us, but we had a cold snap that was, again, double digits below zero. We didn't have any frostbite issues. I had good ventilation in that coop. So you must have ventilation in the coop, and you want it to be higher than the highest roosting bar. You want it to be above their heads so they're not getting the breeze that's on them. You want to be able to, for the moisture to go up and out through the top of the coop. So obviously not in the roof. Obviously at the top of the walls is where you want the vents. So make sure you put some vents in there. You could just drill, if you put a solid piece of plywood across, you could just drill holes in there as a vent. You know, nothing wrong with that. Don't drill them big enough to where a predator can get in, but if you drill small holes, that could be ventilation as well, you know. So you don't have to go buy an actual, you know, vent that you'd have in your house if you don't want to. Okay, so when you first put the chickens in their coop, they need to know where home is. They will not. Okay, so you've always heard that chickens will put themselves away at night, which is true, but not in the very beginning. In the very beginning, they're not going to know. If you put them in here day one, if I were to take them out of the brooder, put them in here, let them run around, and then expect them to come back in the coop on day one, they're not going to know how to do that. The first flock we had, it took us a while. It took us like 3 or 4 weeks to train them. What I had to do with those ones, because I did just that, I brooded them all the way, then put them outside and thought they were going to know where their home was, their new home. Well, they didn't. So what I had to do, we would catch them, we would have to put them in the coop ourselves. Oh, that's ridiculous. So what I would do is, in that case, I used to put a light bulb in the coop, and I would have that on. I turn it on right before it got dark, and so as it got dark out, chickens don't like the dark, except in their nesting box. As it got dark out, they would go up the ramp and they would go into their coop because they saw there was light in there. So that was one way to train them if you made the mistake of not locking them in the coop for their final week of brooding, which is what I'm going to do. So that they'll know where their home is, I'm going to put them in here for their final week of brooding. And then I'll use this as a brooder. Just like I'm using a brooder there, I'll actually put them in here and keep brooding them in here. So they'll be locked in for that last week. It's not cruel because they're locked in the brooder anyways. They'll just be locked in here. And that way when they do come out, they'll know to come back into this coop because this is where their home is. And the same thing goes for the ducks. So my 2 runner ducks, if you've been watching my videos, I have 2 runner ducks that are getting big and they're ready to come out of that coop. They're 5 weeks old now. And for their last week, I want to put them in the duck house. And I want to do just that. I want to lock them in for their last week. I'll put a heat lamp in there if I have to. It is still cold up here in North Idaho. It's below freezing at night, and we did get some snow flurries yesterday afternoon, so it is still cold up here. So I may have to do a heat lamp in there for their last week. By 6-7 weeks, they should be fully feathered, so they should be able to handle themselves after that. But that's one way that that's the way I'm gonna train them to where their home, to know where their home is by brooding them their last week or so in their coops, in their respective coops of where they're gonna live. It just makes it a lot easier. It gets them out of the brooder because you've seen a million videos of the cute little chicks in the brooder on day one and how adorable they are. By week 4, 5, 6, you have had it. You want them out of the brooder, out of the house, basement, garage, wherever you're brooding them. You want them out. They stink, they're messy, especially ducks. The chickens aren't so bad, but the ducks are awful. The ducks are a disaster. So you just want them out after a while. So I like to get them out on week 5 and brood them in their new coops where they're gonna be, so that they know that that's where they need to go back to every night. So I think that's about it. If you can think of anything else that I missed, please comment down below. I'm going to continue working on this, and we will hopefully get this knocked out today. Okay, got the roof on. I still got to do the metal, but I got the OSB up there. So I'll do the plywood walls next and do the metal roofing after that. And you know, if you get into homesteading or farming or anything like that, you do a lot of construction work. You do a lot of projects. You have to do a lot of things on your own, you know. Too expensive to always hire someone. And I will say, I've been doing a lot of construction projects lately. And, you know, with all the projects I've been doing, I gotta say, you know, on each and every project, I've been learning more and more, you know, different ways to screw things up. So I wanted a 6x6 roof, and I cut the 2x4 rafters 6 feet. I should have cut them 3 inches shorter because I need to make up for 1.5 inches on each side. So my roof was too long, and when I cut my OSB, I measured it 6 feet. So I was 3 inches short. So at least I'm learning, right? I'm learning how to make new mistakes on every project. So it's all part of learning, I guess. I just wanted to point something out to anyone who's watching my videos who might be thinking about moving to Idaho, or specifically North Idaho. Just wanted to mention 2 things you need to keep in mind. Number 1, today is April 17th. Number 2, it's snowing out right now. Yeah, not hard, but we're getting flurries right now on April 17th. So if you don't like winter, you won't like it here. So a minute ago I said it wasn't snowing hard. Well, it picked up a little bit. Yeah, April 17th. Yeah, a little bit more than flurries. Okay, took me all day, but I did it. Got this done. I think I'm done. Just like everything, stay with me. It's not perfect, but it's functional. So I ended up at the last minute, I ended up doing these soffits up here. Just to close it in because it was too wide open, I thought. So I left this part open for ventilation, and then I left a portion in the back open for ventilation. Let me swing you around here. So I did the soffits under here as well. Under here, it was just too wide open. I don't want that much airflow in there. I left it open under there as well, so there'll be some airflow in and out. I think that should be pretty good. So I did that all the way around. Left it up off the ground again, like I did the duck coop, for them to go underneath to get out of the sun, to get out of the rain, get away from aerial predators. I put okay, so I did the nesting box. Did the nesting box over here. So right there, I'm probably just gonna leave that one nesting box. It's the size of 2. I think that'll be good enough for bantams. I've done the whole, you know, certain amount of nesting boxes for a certain amount of chickens, and they don't use them. So I'm gonna do one for now and see how that goes. It'll be a while before they're gonna start laying anyways. So I got the metal roof on. Just kicked all my screws all over the place. Got to clean up this disaster now. Got the door within the door, so this is the door to let them out every day. And that opens wide. So the last thing I got to do is a ramp. So yeah, forgot the ramp. So not a big deal. So that'll be to let them in and out every day. When I do the ramp, I'll update it. And when the girls paint, my wife and daughters are gonna paint all these coops out here. So we got 3, 4 of them that they're gonna paint. And she said she goes to paint the 5th one too, the main coop. I don't know. So this is to clean it out. So I got that large door to get in there and sweep it all out. As you can see, again, the ventilation goes through here. I might consider putting some hardware cloth up here We don't have a lot of predator pressure though, luckily. We do have weasels in the area. That's probably our main thing. As far as big predators, remember, this is all within our 8-foot garden fence, okay? All within the 8-foot garden fence. So there's not too much getting through that. Then on the other side of that fence is the dogs. So the dogs keep a lot of animals out of this part of the property. Same thing, got the soffit open and back for that airflow. I did put roosts in here for them. If they're gonna use them, we'll see how that goes. If I gotta add more, take them out. I put two of those, so they're 4 feet across. That should be plenty. So that's 8 feet for however many silkies we got. I also left enough space in the front here if they're not gonna roost and they want to just bed down on the floor of the coop. Again, there's nothing in here. There's not going to be any food or water in here. So this will all be just for bedding right here if they choose to do that. And then the nesting box is right there. Got a little bit of a lip on it so I can fill it with pine shavings. And that is that. I have that hinge, which looks weird down on the bottom. That's just for the magnet, just to get a tighter closure of the door. That's all that is for. That's about it. We have had all 4 seasons here today. We truly have. I've been out here since this morning. It's dinner time. It has gotten sunny and hot, and I had to kept having to take my jacket off. We had crisp fall weather. We had warm spring weather. We had snow today. Now it's starting to rain right now. Is it rain? Yeah, it's rain. So I got to clean all this up and get going. So that's it for the Silky Coop. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. I don't know. Hope I entertained you. See you on the next one.